Hey, what's going on YouTube? Alabama Reloader here. I believe the title of this video is going to be There's Hope for the Ruger M77. And I really think there is. I was getting a little bit disappointed over at the range when, I loaded up all of these different bullets. 5 different Hornady bullets, okay? Ranging from 150 grains up to the 220 grain round nose interlock with Super Performance powder. The reason I chose Super Performance powder is because that is one of the highest velocity option powders that Hornady lists throughout. I think they have Super Performance listed in all of their 300 Ruger Compact Magnum load data. And it is a Hornady, how do you want to phrase that? It's a Hornady developed product with Hodgdon. It's kind of like one of those co-developed products with Hodgdon. So Hornady came up with Super Performance powder. So I'm loading a Hornady / Ruger co-developed cartridge. I'm using Hornady bullets, and I'm using a powder Hornady came up with, using Hornady brass. I'm just trying to stick, kind of by the book and see how this thing's going to work out, see if there's any hope at all in getting some level of consistent performance and precision out of this setup. Because right now, with the factory ammunition that I tried, hot garbage. With most of this stuff that I shot today, hot garbage. But there's hope. There is hope, and we're clinging to that hope. Obviously, our hope is in Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. But in this particular case, I think the M77 has there's a silver lining to the range session after today. This looks like I took a shotgun out to the range and tried to pattern some buckshot, but that's not what this is. Again, one of the issues that I've had with trying to do load development for Ruger M77 rifles in the past, typically I do see a pretty significant difference in point of impact shift whenever I'm, changing grain weights on the bullets, or simply changing powders, or changing charge weights within the same testing the same bullet, but just simply changing charge weights. And it doesn't even have to be a significant change. And I see quite a difference in point of impact, which is what I saw with the Ruger M77 Hawkeye, trying to, point of aim, and then your point of impact might be 2 inches to the right and up, and then you try to make an adjustment, and then it's like back way left or down low. It's just going from one charge weight to another. It has a dramatic effect, or at least it does on this rifle, on the point of impact, which is a little bit frustrating. So I was trying the 150s, 150 SSTs, 178 ELDXs, the 180 SSTs, which the 180 SST was kind of promising. The 212 ELDX, and then the 220 round nose interlock. This guy, this thing is that is a hunk of lead downrange, heading downrange. So that, my friends, is where our hope is gonna lie on this project. This is the 220 round nose interlock testing that I did. I loaded up 4 3-shot groups, well, 3 3-shot groups and 1 4-shot group. These were the velocity numbers I got. This is all with Super Performance powder. Hornady shows their max at 58.1, so we're essentially at the max charge that they show in the manual. And we're at 21.6 on the velocity. And this is a 4-shot group, by the way. The 58 grain charge is a 4-shot. The rest of these are 3-shot. This is out of a 20-inch barrel. Their load data is with a 20-inch barrel. So you have to, that's a good point of comparison in the actual manual itself. Sometimes you run into that issue, right, where a load data or a manual has like hey, we used a 26-inch barrel, and you've got a 20-inch barrel. So big difference in the velocities that you'll see. On this one, They specifically designed this cartridge to be optimized in a 20-inch barrel. They're trying to give you Magnum level performance in a shorter, more compact package. Oh, does that sound familiar? It's kind of like what everybody's trying to do today. This is what they were working on way back when, in the early 2000s. And this is kind of the concept that they came up with and the offering that they brought to the table. So it's really trying to maximize Magnum level performance in a short action cartridge with a 20-inch barrel. Let's see, the 220, so it flat out shot the best out of all of the combinations that I tried. So you can see, like the 150 SST, we almost got up to 3,100 feet per second with it. The 178 ELDX, we were at 28.19. The 180, 28.23. The 212, we got up almost to 2,500 feet per second. So yeah, just in terms of accuracy and precision, everything else was pretty much garbage. But this 220, look at that. We have a 3-shot group under an inch. You gotta be kidding me. So 0.982 on that one, that's the 55 grain charge. And then 56 was, again, hot garbage. Now, I know I'm jumping 1 grain on these, and I get it, the point of impact shift, you could definitely expect some dramatic points of impact shift when you're making, 4 grain jumps in powder. I got it, okay? But the point is, it's not that dramatic when you go and look at, say, something like the 6.5 Creedmoor video that I just posted, where I'm doing something very similar and I'm making 1 grain jumps on my charge weights in between each group, and the point of impact doesn't shift much at all. So that's what you're getting yourself into whenever you go with a non-free floated barrel. It's just that's part of it. That's, at least in my experience. Right now, you might be one of those people where you're going to comment below and be like, "Oh, all I own is Ruger M77s, and none of them are free floated, and they stack bullets. It doesn't matter the grain weight, doesn't matter the powder." You're probably going to be one of those people. I can already tell, because those people exist, right? Where it doesn't matter what you say, they're going to counter it with something else to try to either prove you wrong or say, no, your experience is not valid because this is what I've done with my own personal experience, which then invalidates your experience. That's just what it is. That's what people do. So knowing that, in my experience, I just see massively dramatic points of impact shift, trying to hand load for rifles such as the Ruger M77. But on the 220, right, it wasn't as dramatic, okay? You can see here, just under an inch with that 55 grain group. 56, just shotgun pattern, opened way up on those 3 shots. 57 kind of came back a little bit, 1.287, so not bad, right? And then this is 58. This was the 4-shot group. This is an 1.5 inches, but man, that made me very, very happy to see 3 shots that close together, right? That's the closest 3 shots that we've put together with this rifle, and we have now shot 79 rounds down the barrel. And I say 79 because I did have 40 pieces of brass, right? People with a keen eye, 30, and there's 9, there's 1 missing. Why is there 1 missing? Oh, because I absolutely sandwiched one of these things. I have no clue how that happened when I went and did bullet seating. Absolutely no idea. I was using the Hornady 30 cal. It's a universal seating die. And what I do is I put a piece of brass into the press, I raise it all the way up, then I screw the die down until I feel it touch the brass, then I back it out a full turn. Then I seat the bullets. That's how I do everything if I use the Hornady bullet seating die. No clue how that happened, but sandwiched one big time. So now we're down to 39 pieces. No big deal. But what I ended up doing was switching over. Once I did that, I was like, okay, I'm not gonna mess around with a sort of universal seating die. I went and got my RCBS die, bullet seating die that is specific for 300 Ruger Compact Magnum. Didn't have any issues after that. The main problem though is the seating stem in that die. It's a more traditional, I guess, bullet shaped seating stem. And so, man, it puts a lot of force, seating force, up near the nose of the bullet, right? Whereas with that 308, I actually have a different seating stem in there. It's a little bit more of a VLD style. So that pressure's a little bit further down the bullet. I think that's pretty much it though. Yeah, that's about all I want to cover in this video. My plan now is we've identified a bullet, at least I think I have, identified a bullet that shot halfway decent, at least decent enough for me, right? Because if I can get somewhere around 1 inch to 1.5 inches consistently, then that's going to do everything that I need it to do, especially in that particular setup. So I want to go back, do some more testing with the 220. My plan is to now process this brass. I'll wet tumble it, get everything cleaned up, prep it just like my normal brass prep. We'll go full length resize, chamfer, deburr, all the fun stuff. And then from there, I would like to retest with Superformance up near the max charge. I would like to run a few groups up near the max charge and do some testing there with Superformance, and then also bring a couple of other powders into the mix. I might do like 4 3-shot groups, or maybe do, probably do like 4 3-shot groups of each. Might do it that way. I don't know, hadn't really decided yet, but I'd like to test 3 different powders in this next round. I'll do Superformance again. They also have Hybrid 100V as the other top velocity option for the 220 grain class. So I can test that because I have that powder. And then they show, I believe it's like Reloader 19, IMR 4350, some of those other powders like that. They show they're not the top velocity options, but I think I have some IMR 4350. So I'd like to try that powder as well in this upcoming test, just to see what we can get by switching powders. But I also have a modified case on the way, so we can check seating depth, because I just seated everything to the manual recommended overall length. I have no clue in relation to where we're at relative to the lands. So obviously that could come into play as well. Once I get that modified case in, then I'll go back through, I'll check all these bullets, then we'll circle back, look at these results again, and then obviously play around with seating depth. If we find something that shoots halfway decent, we can adjust seating depth if we have a wide range or sort of a wide tolerance band between where the bullet is seated during the testing versus touch point on the lands. That's it though, guys. But again, I'm hopeful now, right? I was getting a little worried, but I'm hopeful, right? These 3 groups, yeah. So I think we got something going on here with the 220, but you guys stay tuned. A lot more testing in the 300 Ruger Compact Magnum. I have a ton of 30 cal bullets that I'd like to test, and several powders that would work well in the cartridge. So you guys just stick around, and more to follow. We'll catch y'all next time. Y'all have a good one.